What's the intel, ladies and gentlemen? It's Ender, and today I bring you 5 general tips to win in Destiny 2's Crucible. This isn't a guide on how to win every game, obviously, but to improve your KD and possibly your chances of scoring good loot. The next time you're in a Destiny Crucible match 1 or 2, keep these 5 tips in mind and you might just walk away with a decent KDR and a win. One disclaimer I have is that you should not rely on this video alone. I've geared this more toward beginner players, but I've also put some tips that vets might not have thought about, or so I hope. Of course, some of these tips should be obvious, but sometimes Guardians forget in the heat of the moment. Tip number 1 is aim for the head. This really should go without saying, but pulling a bullet through someone's brain is a lot more effective at killing them than shooting them in the foot. Shocking, I know. But in all seriousness, keep your aim up. Your KD and your teammates will thank you, and you'll feel a lot better about yourself when you score those crucial takedowns. Headshots even work through shields. Despite that probably breaking the laws of physics, it helps to know that headshots will help you no matter what state your opponent is in. A good tip for keeping your aim up is protecting your opponent's locations. Obviously, this isn't Counter-Strike, so vertical mobility is something you have to factor in. However, it is still possible to predetermine where your opponents will be, and more importantly, where their heads will be. Keep your reticle aimed where you think your enemy's head will be, and you'll be saved a few degrees of rotation that could save your life. Also, unlike Counter-Strike, this game gives you a handy-dandy position radar in the upper left corner of your screen that tells you exactly where your enemies are at all times. Which brings me to my next point. Tip number 2, your radar is your friend. That radar I just mentioned is always on, unlike UAV and Call of Duty. It is less precise in terms of actual position, opting to show relative directions and distance chunks, but that is more than enough. Your eyes should be glued to this thing. It'll tell you when you can expect an enemy to pop out in front of you, if the enemy is beside you trying to flank, and it will also give you an idea of how many enemies there actually are. You don't even need to look back at the rest of the screen. Your peripheral vision will likely prevent you from accidentally running into a wall. Tip number 3, know your loadout. Learn the ins and outs of your best weaponry and armor to maximize effectiveness. It seems obvious, but this can really give you an edge if you know what you're doing. Look beyond your gear's attack and defense stats, and look at the things below, like impact and fire rate on weapons, and mobility, recovery, and resistance on armor. These can mold your playstyle beyond what you normally think about. It can shape your movement style, your confidence in your tactics, and how you handle your weapons. A weapon with high fire rate, for example, will most likely require short bursts over long-range encounters, or perhaps a backup weapon that's more accurate. If you have high mobility but low resistance, keep your ass moving and don't get caught in the open. Of course, this varies by gear, but it's easy enough to pick up after you've used it and paid attention for more than a minute. Speaking of knowing stuff, tip number 4, know your friends and your enemies. A deeper understanding of the various classes and subclasses will give you a massive boost in figuring out likely playstyles of the entire lobby. Aim for playing with each subclass enough to get an idea of how it functions, what its basic and advanced abilities are, and how it may be used in both PvP and PvE encounters. Then, the next time you see those subclass markers at the top of your screen, you'll know how to use the team to the best of its ability, as well as how your enemies might think, move, and shoot. It'll take a while, but a good shortcut if you're not too hot on the grind is to look through guides on wikis on the internet, or rifle through the Destiny 2's Player's Guide if you picked up a copy. And hey, if you're that serious on winning in Destiny 2, you probably won't mind in the first place, right? Tip number 5, PTFO or GTFO. I know this is more of a Battlefield saying, but in modes like Control and Countdown, the objective is the most important part of the game. You don't want to just score kills. You want to win the game because that's what gets you good loot. Stay on the objective and play with your team too. You're a lot less likely to get killed when you or 2 or more targets that move and shoot back. Play your objectives and stick together. You should be well on your way to a victory if you do those 2. So, that's 5 ways to get better and hopefully win in Destiny 2's Crucible. Hope you enjoyed this quick video guide. Keep fighting in the Crucible, and I'll see you guys later. Hey viewer, thanks for sticking around long enough to finish the video. If you want to leave some feedback in the comments or even give the video a rating, feel free to do so. It helps me make better content for you. If you want to stick around here, your notification modifier should be turned on so that you can be notified of future videos. Can't find it? Click the red subscribe button and it should appear as a little bell icon. Click on that and follow the instructions. Don't forget to check out the rest of my channel if you're new around here, and remember, weapons don't matter, skills do.